Hello, how's it going everyone? So in this video, we're going to be going a little bit more in depth on the AI infrastructure change inside of Meta and some more context as to what the Andromeda strategy kind of pulls from and sort of the inner workings of it in the first place. So this is going to be part one in the changes that have been made to Meta and the algorithms. As you can see, this has been going on at least since March. However, insider information in terms of this has actually been rolled out a little bit earlier than that in beta testing, and this was towards I want to say around January, December in larger accounts that we've had. So we've had access to this for quite some time now. However, the public has been kind of forced into using this as of last summer. So anyways, the first section that I want to cover is around Meta Gem or GEM, the brain or the beginning of how this algorithm works in the first place and sort of what it does and what it allows it to do in the first place. So a quick summary on that is at Meta, we harness the power of AI to drive better experiences for people and better results for your business. Okay, so this is obviously the key indicator that we know is that we want to have users that have a better experience that retains the overall people that are on the platform. And then in doing so, we also can better target those people with ads that are more relevant to the individual user. And so with that being said, the previous constraints have been more so surrounding technology. And so I know that Meta has switched, and they even say in this documentation that they switched from more of a CPU usage to more of a GPU usage to match and essentially correlate different users together. And so what is the super brain in that process of it, or what does that do in the first place? So I'm going to do these said differently because I think this is a little bit easier to understand. Even talks about GPUs in here, but anyway, so said differently, imagine having a super brain that can read an entire library of books in seconds, understand the relationship between all the characters, remember every single detail, and connect the details into an understanding of the sequence of events a person goes through across all types of activities. So I'm going to stop there and say that this is insane. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that AI doesn't have to be something like ChatGPT or Grok or any of these other platforms. It could be just used in systems like an algorithm per se. And so what this means though is that we're talking about understanding like the buying habits of individuals over mass amounts of data and the relationship that plays into culture, economics, friends. I mean, you can have a friend that is buying, for example, I don't know, like a trip to a ski resort. It was one of the examples they use. And since that friend has gone on past vacations with you, it might recommend you ski resort clothing or tickets or travel stuff, even if it's not you in the first place. And so we're talking about correlations between like your relationships on the platform towards the timeline of events that occur. So it's actually understanding the story of you as an individual, and that obviously is going to, number one, serve you better from a going on the platform basis, but then also from an advertising basis. And so this is the foundation of how Andromeda targets, is that it's more about, like I said, the individual, not the group of people per se. And so it says right here, results during the initial launch of Meta Reels this year, GEM has increased ad conversions up to 5%. So we can say this 5% could be warm traffic, cold traffic. We don't know if it's click or view. So not really putting too much weight on this as, it is individually. But the biggest thing though is that this allows advertisers to go deeper on the individual and not necessarily forced to cycle a bunch of creative. So if you watched my last video, we were talking about this, right? We're talking about how before Meta would go through and essentially organize different audiences of people, and now it's more so building the system to get more individualized with that. So we're talking information like this, right? So to kind of go more in depth on what it does, we're talking about it can link. I'm not going to do this for every single one of them, but it can link can link individuals to other individuals that are showing similar patterns, as well as back and forth, right? So obviously I'm not going to do this for all of them, but my point being is that this is going to be something that I think a lot of other advertising platforms are going to do, just because it's going to build stories of, I guess you can say, like archetypes of people or friend clusters or similar habits still, but those similar habits are not based on these general formulas of, okay, you saw this, you went to this site, okay, you purchased this product, okay, cool, we're going to put you in, like you purchased the ski resort product, which is buying the ski resort or going to the ski resort in the first place. Now we're just going to show you all kinds of winter stuff and travel stuff and just kind of lump you in that general category. Whereas now it's saying, okay, We know your friends. We know what thing you're going to probably buy next because you already bought a travel ticket. Now you don't need to buy a travel ticket. You're going to buy something else like a, winter coat or a cabin or something of that nature. And so it could better predict the future decisions that you're going to make or that you would want to make based on the part of the story that you're in of that journey of going to the ski resort. So pretty crazy stuff. I can now understand a lot more as to why this is, number one, having such great results, but then also being insane in the fact that there's so much data that is going to be captured in this cycle. So there's a lot more on this, but this is kind of the initial starting point of how it gets the data in the first place. And then we'll talk more about the next stages on the future videos to kind of go more in depth on Meta's Andromeda strategy in the first place. So thanks again, everyone, for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.